Hey, what's up, guys? Max here, and the Banquet event conversations of 2024 is not over. Yes, we are in 2025, but Kabam Crash came out with a very lengthy, written out detailed on the Banquet event and kind of tying a lot of other things into it. You know, kind of like how the game is performing, how our views of the game is, compare why this year was of 2024 Banquet was a bit more expensive compared to the last year's. The pattern that he's seeing the video gamers kind of develop, how maybe some comments were being said out there on the internet, with social medias, videos, and how he's kind of saying like, hey, that's not the reasoning behind it. And then kind of some personal attacks to him, like why he lied to us, kind of explaining some of that information there. And then at the end, what he's thinking that he's gonna do for the future next following Banquet event. So there's a lot to cover, guys. There's a lot to say. I'm just going to try to be brief in this video and cover basically some of the things that I kind of found very interesting about this. So we'll start off with the top, where kind of his view of the game, obviously, which is great. I think that's a great view of how he's seeing the game. He's obviously trying to develop this video game not to be just a year or 2 years kind of a type of game, but he wants it to be here for another decade, another 10 years. And from my understanding of what I've personally seen in other video games, you know, they probably have like a 2 to 3 year lifespan, and then they die out. They fizzle because either the players are not there to be engaged, they don't have sufficient players to be able to like get money from to sell resources, which is this bullet point that he does, and they can't keep them, you know. So another video game comes out and it kind of like attracts their attention. I know this video game has a lot more to go for because it's tied in with Marvel, and a lot of us have some kind of like love or passion for the movies, for the shows, and that kind of with the video game keeps it all very like in a nice tight little circle of like us entertainment wise too as well, wanting to see and play with characters that we've learned to love over the years growing up, or learn about and just seeing how they perform inside here, the video game, right? And so that Kabam has going for them because it's tied with Marvel, and so that helps him a lot. You know, it helps him to, it's not like a video game that's made out of the blue and is trying to get people's attention. No, they have the backing of Marvel, at least to have that foundation that they built on, and they're just making a video game out of it. So that's interesting. I mean, I think this is what helps this game. One of the little pieces in this big giant puzzle that has helped this game been here for many years. I've been here for 10 years myself. So I'm glad that he's one of, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but Kabam Crash is probably one of the higher ups inside Kabam when it comes to staffing. And he has a lot of say. And so how he views the game and how he views the company and what his intentions are very important, and he goes into detail inside here. How does the Banquet get made? So this specific Banquet goes back in 2022, but the reason why was because the introduction of 7 stars and the ranks. So this was the introduction of rank 4. This is probably the perfect storm, and probably also a good reason why this Banquet event was successful with the high tier player. The competitive top player, but also the bigger pockets, the whales. You know, they were chasing the rank 4, and the rank 4 was something exclusive, and it's going to be for them to enjoy for the next couple of months, and then it's going to get pushed out to the masses, because if it's only kept for them for a while, then, you know, the masses are going to be like, okay, when is our turn? So expect that to obviously be available in the next couple of months. But they paid a pretty penny. We've seen, like, I think the largest amount spent this entire year, I mean, in the 10 years of video gaming, by one player. I think it was recorded at $180,000 in a 2-week period, which is freaking crazy, you know? So that is, I think, the perfect setup, because of the chase. The rank 4 hasn't been available and is just got introduced, and they're available, plus the other goodies that they kind of make this package for this player and players that chase for the top ranks. So yeah, this is how this Banquet event was made. It started back in 2022. How does the sentiment impact Infinite game? So this is interesting. Kabam makes a comment here. Whichever Kabam employee made this offer should be fired. So he talks about how passionate players, content creators make videos about comments like that. And I can, he didn't say any names, but I can almost assume here, this person I don't think is out making any videos at the moment, but he used to do these very attractive titles, thumbnails in their videos to kind of get people's attention. And it did a great job. You know, I would remember clicking on those videos like that and just be like, okay, let's see what he says. But I don't think he's around anymore. So like that, I don't know if that's the person he's referring to. Hey, it might be me. But it's interesting to know because he's telling us here that the sentiment and what the players that don't end up watching these videos or do end up tuning into these videos don't feel the same. Like even when we talk about how bad the crystals are, how bad the offers are, how bad this might be, X might be, people still spend and people still participate. I found some interesting articles that kind of tie into that. And I think it has to do not just so much on the like that they don't realize. No, they do. It has to do more with the gambling and addictions and video gaming psychological problems. So there's this thing called internet gaming disorder. I like when I read these articles, and I'm not going to sit here and read them to you, but I was like, oh boy, dude, I'm not a doctor to diagnose myself here, but I was like, I think I have that. And I think I'm part of that issue and addiction and feeling like you're being left out, feeling like there's concerns into this. And there's been studies and people have been tested for this. When it comes to, like in children, and let's not even say adults, when they're overspending when it comes to this like hobby and entertainment area. And we try to mask it. I remember trying to mask it as entertainment, as hey, if I'm spending this, but really realistically, if you're a high-end spender, are you really spending $10,000 a month? Maybe let's say $5,000 a month to entertain yourself and your wife and your kids every month? Like, are you guys going on vacations, lavish vacations? And are you not, because now you're entertaining yourself and spending that money inside MCOC? It's something like it's deeper than just us covering this situation in gaming. It definitely goes deeper into it. But I'm not here to kind of like give you medical advice on video gaming and spending and addictions and how your consumables are being spent in the game compared to other things in life maybe you should be focused on, right? But he ties that in there. He doesn't talk about that, what I'm talking about, but he talks about how people talk about the game and the offers that are bad, but yet people still buy them. And I think it has to do with what I was just referring to. So Banquet 2024, he compares it. Also the cost of the Banquet 2024 compared to 2023. Why was it higher? He refers to DNA's post right here when it comes to the grind, how many units you can get. I had that here available so you guys can see it, but you can click it. He links it there for us too. And this is very true. This is something that I've been wanting to try for this year. And I think from when I've tuned in to other content creators, if you look at our unit inventory, we're seeing, I remember seeing only like Brian Grant. I remember he's the free to play player, right? And he was like the guy that never spent a unit and just grinded the arenas to try to get those units available for whenever there was possibly a need or content that he would use. And he goes to say, I don't think inside this section, but he goes to say how like players, skill level has increased so much across the board, not just a few, handful of players that are amazingly skilled, but just around the board. Knowledge of gaming of this video game, how the actions of the nodes work, how people farm, potions and revives, and how Kabam makes content and people end up not spending their units. I myself, like the last pieces of content that Kabam has made, has spent, I think, 0 units on it when it comes to consumables like potions and boost and stuff like that. It's been everything that I've been able to farm. And so when Kabam looks at these numbers, and they're like, okay, how do we get the players to spend money? So if it's not going to be converting their cash for units so they can complete content, because they've gotten so good. So now they have these events. And I think between July 4th, Cyber Weekend, the Banquet, I think they had another one too, Spring Cleaning right here. They came out with these other events in between, these big events where you end up having to spend, and I said it before, like in the last video that I made, there's this $200 deal that just came out of nowhere, and Kabam just wants you to spend ideally $50 to up to $200, but just on a nice given Friday. Hey, there's $200 up for you to buy. It's up to you to decide to, yes, I want to buy it. But that is one offer, and it's in little bits. It's not, if it had a $200 price tag, people would be kind of like, no. But because it has a $50 price tag, it's chewable. It's a little bit different. Along with that, we're seeing big events where it requires like, hey, chase the champion, chase this. And so Kabam is trying to be a bit more like, and they tie our units into the whole mix to try to get us to spend the units. So I would say this is really true on what I think he's really tuned in here. And I don't know if he's just watching videos, or just looking at the data and the numbers, is how people are consuming their units. Like my units are not being spent recently on chasing crystals, chasing champions. They haven't been on, and I know this is just me, because across the board, you can still one day to another be tempted to say, hey, I want to buy 20 crystals and let me see if I get lucky right now, but your odds on that crystal are very low. You know this, you still do it. But if you get this very strong will and say no to any of the champions overall, then you save, and then you wait for the one, maybe possibly one champion you do want to chase, and that comes out in it. But what I'm getting to basically here is the way people are spending units has changed drastically. So they cover that, and that's why these events going forward, even in 2025, guys, we're going to expect the Banquet event to be just as expensive, if not even more. So knowing this information so early on in January of 2025, you have 12 months. I have 12 months to get yourself ready for the Banquet event of 2025. Expect to have, I would say, an inventory of like 60,000 units, something larger. You have plenty of time to get to that number. If you just want to have a good time, but not spend too much cash. Now, again, bad advice to be given, especially when you want the game to consistently stay available. If we all do this, luckily not everybody does that, but if we all do this, and he even talks about it here, if we were designed July 4th Cyber Weekend Banquet, so that most players can get the best stuff for free, we would be out of business pretty quickly. So as players earn and save units, events will get more expensive. And I assume that July 4th and all these events, again, are this in 2025, we should be seeing an increase of everything. So expect that. And so I would truly say, do the arenas, do what you need to do as much as possible to increase your units. Say no to a couple of the unit deals that come up, especially the ones that are meaningless. Like on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, and a Thursday, there's like a pop-up of 5,000 units. Buy this. Say no to that and just wait it out, because it looks like Kabam, they're letting us know. He's letting us know this year is going to get a little bit more expensive, I think, when it comes to the events overall. Why don't you care about valuing players and the progression? So he goes into talking about how most of the content that is made here, right here, 80% of the content is for endgame players. And I truly believe this. Like, if you look at everything that gets dropped, there's nothing that gets dropped when it comes to like lower, mid, beginning content. Imagine something like that gets dropped and most endgame players are going to be like, what the hell? Why even do it? I'm not even going to bother, you know? And the rewards have to go along with it. So if like beginning content gets dropped, let's say some content gets dropped and says, earn a 4-star, earn a 4-star Nexus, choose a 4-star champion from 2024, Nexus, 4-star. Who, you or I, end game players are not going to do it, you know, and they're not going to try to do that. So I think what they could do for beginning and entry level players, and it's kind of what like, they, unfortunately, I'm gonna refer this to what like the CCP, what was it? The Content Creator Program, Karina's Challenge, I think it was, created, where they forced us to use old champions, rank up old champions, do content, and get paid high rewards. I think that would encourage the newly earned players like that have been playing the game, just started playing the game maybe 2-3 years, don't have a big giant roster, but have maybe these 3 or 4-star champions. So it takes you back, grab those 4-star champions, 5-star champions, cap it, saying, hey, you have to use only 4 stars the max. But the payout is like 7-star crystals, 7-star shards, 7-star time shards, something that can expedite that newer player that's been playing for 2 years, but also encourages the end game players to go back, rank up, level up their old champions, or lower star champions, to do that difficult content. Everybody does it. Everybody gets improved. Everybody gets pushed forward to do more content and gets pushed to end game players. And that's ultimately the goal. It's funny that I make this reference, but because I just read those articles that I was telling you about, like these articles here that were that talk about like tests that they've done to people, like research that they've done to people. And the psychological thing is to get all the players to become end game players, because once you're an end game player, your involvement, your chances of spending money has increased, and so that's the goal again. For the Kabam the business, for us, for me to be an endgame player, which I am, which is interesting. All right, so he does a comparison too of the 2023-2024. Okay, this video is getting too long, guys. Let me see. You care about the game balance? Why did you say X, Y, and Z? He also goes into covering a couple of things that I think personal attacks that were made to him. Why did you lie to us? And he kind of references, some things. He kind of clarifies some things that he said. And maybe misunderstood, and just overall, I think if anybody cared about that, you should go out and read that. I don't personally I didn't was on that that train of saying, hey, he lied to us, or I honestly I didn't. It's not that I don't care. It's just I didn't even bother to go into those details. But if you care about that, you should go in there and see it. Why didn't the holiday deals launch alongside the Banquet? So this is interesting. This is really good. It says for at least as long as we have been on the team, this is how it works. When the holiday deals launching closer to Christmas Day. So this was a thing. So know this for the future. The deals, the Banquet, Christmas, separate. And they're going to have different launch dates. So this is something good to know for us to be prepared to as well. Why did you wait so long for announce the Banquet details? This is really good. He kind of goes in here and says like in the past, there's certain things that they don't announce. And they're going to keep to that, I think, again, for this year. And that's how they're going to just keep it going. They're not going to give us the details on a lot of the stuff. That just makes sense. It builds up anticipation, but it also keeps the excitement a little bit. But the less prepared you are, the more likely you get caught off guard. But honestly, if you're watching this and if you've been playing the game for at least 5+ years and you're tuning in onto YouTube videos, you should be preparing yourself now for the Banquet of 2025. I know it's a year out, but the more time you have, the more you say no to certain things, the more prepared you are. You'll be fine. You're gonna be fine, and it's not gonna hurt you, and it's not gonna be like a pain to get into your pocket, right? Are the banquet events and the holiday gifts and 10 champion calendar are related? I kind of makes reference to that. Are you happy with the banquet event? And then his final thoughts. So obviously, looking at the huge milestones we were able to hit as a community, it was successful. People were opening crystals, even though people were complaining about it. People were still opening crystals across the board. How he feels about it, I think his takeaway this year from what he says. Last year, I identified 4 opportunities to improve in the banquet event. This year, the main takeaway for me is we need to make the crystal more fun. It's going to be a challenge, and I don't think he's going to achieve to what the masses of players that have voiced out their concerns on how to make this crystal better. He's not going to achieve it. And the reason why he's not going to do it is not that he doesn't want to, or he can't, or he doesn't know how to, is because of what he goes, and I would recommend you go into the whole post and read it, is of what he says inside this post. He tells us pretty much clear as day, is saying that, hey, as much as I would love to put something inside this crystal, let's say this is a crystal, and pack it with all the materials you're going to need to get yourself a Titan champion in the crystal, get yourself the rank of materials, get yourself everything you need, and you only have to open maybe like 10 or maybe like 100 to 500 crystals, and you get paid out the most you've ever paid. It doesn't make sense for the business. It doesn't make sense for the 10-year goal that he wants the game to be for another 10 years. It doesn't make sense. And so because of that, I lost it. I had it highlighted. He talks about how there's different events inside MCOC. And the banquet is going to be the one that is going to tie people to spend money and, have that challenge between the players the whales that spend a lot. Let that be a challenge for them. And then just overall milestones as a community, but it's not going to be the one that is going to pay you the best. So if for 2025, you want to say right now, what is the best payout when it comes to events? July 4th, Cyber Weekend. What should I save? What should I buy? What should I participate in? It's going to be everything but the banquet event. The banquet event is there to be fun. You take the most out of it, hit the milestones, and call it a day. That's kind of how I am going to be playing it, and that's how I really played it last year. I didn't push, but I was glad to land. I think it was in the 1% of players. I remember prior years, I was in the top 200, top 100, spending well over thousands of dollars in the game. Now I didn't. I spent still hundreds, but not thousands, where I was like 2, 5. But doesn't mean that there isn't someone, an A, B, or C player out there spending the $3,000 to $5,000, $10,000 in the game right now. There is a lot of players doing it. So overall, I think us covering this and us playing the video game, there's going to be different ways of how different players play it. And that's the cool thing about it. So as long as people are still spending money in the game, people are still contributing their time, people are still talking about the video game, new players are coming in, we will always have something to play and something to tune in and something to log into, which is going to be very important for a lot of us because this has become a big part of our life. Maybe it is a disorder. Maybe we do need a little bit of help, but it has become a big thing that consumes a lot of time for a lot of players, for me included. But I have fun. So, and I think I'll leave you guys with this. Over the last year or 2 years, I've been trying to have a balance, and my balance is I haven't done the time balance. It's been, I do spend time, and that's when I check out and I don't live stream for a weekend. And most weekends I haven't been live streaming because we do spend that time with family. But also the spending is where I've kind of separated myself from, where I used to spend hundreds of dollars consistently. Now I'm looking at spending, $50 to $100 at max, which is a month, which is even still to someone that doesn't know anything about video games, and you tell them you spend $100 in a video game a month, they're just like, why? What does that give you? What did you, why'd you do that? Because some people are like, hey, that's that's groceries. That's a tank of gas. That's full tank of gas for like a week and a half. And so on. But like, yeah, that's one thing I've been doing. And like, hopefully not everybody's doing it, because if everybody does it, apparently, the game will not be here for the next 2 years. It will probably survive for a year. But if everybody starts playing the way I'm playing and having the mindset that I'm having, the game won't be here for the next 2-3 years. So guys, even though you're watching my videos and you see my thoughts on like deals and stuff like that, those are my personal thoughts and those are my perspective of because how I'm playing the video game now. But I would encourage you guys to just, if you're having fun and you're okay spending it, keep going, man. Keep going, because I want a video game to play for the next 2-3 years for sure. And I'm still gonna, like I said, do my part, but it's gonna be tied to those events and the little extra ones that Kabam is gonna be throwing in, because I know they will in 2025. All right, guys, that's a very lengthy video, man. And if you stayed here to the end, do a little hashtag Zach or Zoe just to let me know you made it to the end. But yeah, take care, guys. See you on the next one. Peace.